Jack Ronan had lived alone in the green hills of Ireland for over 5 years. It was a quiet planet with blue skies, twin suns, and long rivers that ran between silver mountains. Jack liked peace. After working for the Earth Space Engineering course for 30 years, he was tired. Now he had a small wooden cabin, a vegetable garden, and no one to bother him. One morning, Jack woke up to an unusual sound. It was not a bird. It was not the wind or the insects that buzzed near his window. It was soft like a baby's cry. High and trembling, Jack sat up and listened again. The sound was coming from outside, near his garden. He pulled on his boots, grabbed his old jacket, and stepped out into the morning air. The sky was clear, the wind gentle, but the crying sound continued. He followed the noise around the back of his cabin and stopped. There, curled up between two tall garden plants, was a small creature. At first, Jack thought it was some kind of animal, but when he looked closer, his breath caught. It was a child, a baby girl, but not human. She had smooth, pale skin that shimmered slightly in the sunlight. Her eyes were large, round, and teal-colored, like ocean water. Thin strands of soft silver hair covered her head, and her fingers had tiny blue nails. She looked no older than 2 years. Jack took a cautious step forward. The alien baby cried louder and pulled back, as if scared. Her little hands shook. She was thin, and her cheeks looked hollow. Jack's heart softened. "It's okay," he said gently. "I'm not going to hurt you." He slowly reached into his pocket and pulled out a piece of dried fruit. It was sweet, soft, and safe. He laid it on the ground and stepped back. The baby looked at the food. Her eyes blinked, then, slowly, she crawled forward and picked it up. She sniffed it, tasted it, and began to chew. Jack watched in silence. She didn't stop after one. He brought her some boiled vegetables, water in a small bowl, and a warm blanket from inside. She ate everything quickly, her little hands shaking. After the meal, she looked at Jack. Her crying had stopped. Her big eyes stared at him, calm now. She didn't speak, but she didn't run either. Jack sat on a rock nearby and scratched his beard. "Where did you come from, little one?" he asked, though he didn't expect an answer. He looked up at the sky. Ireland had no known alien life, just a few Earth colonies scattered across its wide land. The planet was peaceful, yet this baby was clearly not from any human place. Jack stayed outside with her for hours. When night came, the baby was still there, now curled up in the blanket, fast asleep near the fire he had built. Jack looked at her sleeping face. "You need help, kid," he whispered, "and I guess I'm the only one around to give it." The next day, Jack started calling her Tika. It was short, soft, and easy to say. She didn't speak, but when he said the name, she smiled. Tika followed him as he worked in the garden. She watched him chop wood. She laughed when he dropped a bucket of water on his foot. Her laughter was strange but sweet, like tiny wind chimes. Jack tried to contact the colony base to report her. He climbed the small hill behind his cabin where the signal was stronger, but the screen on his radio blinked red. No signal. A storm 2 nights ago had damaged the tower. "Figures," Jack muttered. "No help coming today." That night, Jack sat by the fire with Tika beside him. He gave her a small wooden toy he had carved years ago. It was shaped like a bird. She took it gently and held it close. Jack looked at her. "You're not just smart," he said. "You're special, and someone out there is probably missing you." Tika looked up at the stars. Her eyes glowed softly in the firelight. She reached up, making soft humming sounds, as if calling to the sky. Jack followed her gaze. Above them, the stars were clear, but he noticed something strange, a blinking red light moving slowly across the sky. Not a star, not a plane, a ship. His heart beat faster. Someone was looking for her. The next morning, Jack found small footprints near his cabin. Not Tika's. These were bigger, longer, and not human. They had only 3 toes. He looked at Tika, who was quietly playing with sticks in the dirt. "We're not alone anymore," Jack said. He started to prepare. He didn't know who was out there, but he knew one thing for sure: Tika was not safe yet, and he would do everything he could to protect her. Jack Ronan was not used to company. For 5 quiet years, it had just been him, the trees, and the stars. But now there was Tika, a small alien child who had come into his life by accident, and somehow made everything feel different. By the 3rd day, Tika was stronger, her steps were steadier, and her eyes no longer looked tired. She moved with curiosity, always touching things, Jack's old tools, the rough bark on the trees, the warm stones by the river. She didn't speak, but she made soft sounds. Her favorite was a happy tea when she liked something. Jack had made a small bed for her from blankets and soft leaves inside the cabin. She slept peacefully now, holding the little wooden bird he had given her on the first night. During the day, she followed him everywhere. Jack was fixing the roof when he noticed her trying to copy him. She had picked up a small stick and was tapping it against a piece of bark like a hammer. He laughed. "You're learning fast, kid." He began talking to her, even though she didn't understand most of his words. "This tool," he said, holding up a wrench, "is for fixing things. Like this roof." Tika tilted her head. Then she poked the roof with her stick again and made a clicking sound. Jack chuckled. Close enough. That afternoon, Jack took her to the river near his cabin. The sun was bright, and the air was warm. He let her dip her feet into the water while he filled 2 buckets. Suddenly, a fish jumped out of the water and splashed near them. Tika gasped, eyes wide. Jack smiled. "You've never seen a fish before, huh?" Tika leaned forward and copied. The fishes jumped with her hands, splashing the water and laughing. Her laugh was soft and clear, and Jack couldn't help but smile with her. It felt good. He hadn't smiled this much in years. Later that night, while the fire crackled, Jack sat in his chair and played his old harmonica. It was rusty, but the tune still worked. He played a gentle melody, slow and simple. Tika sat nearby, listening with full attention. Her eyes closed, and she swayed a little with the sound. When he stopped, she clapped twice and hummed back a few notes. Jack raised an eyebrow. "You like that?" She nodded and pointed at the harmonica, then tapped her own chest gently. "You want to try?" He handed her the harmonica carefully. She held it with both hands and placed it near her lips. A weak note came out, soft and shaky, but clear. Jack smiled. "You're a natural." She giggled and tried again, this time a bit louder. The simple music echoed through the trees. For a moment, it felt like they weren't alone in the universe, like they were sharing something deeper than words. The next morning, Jack went up the small hill again to check the signal. The screen still blinked red. No contact with the colony base. Still nothing, he muttered. He looked out across the valley. Birds flew in the distance. The air was calm. But something didn't feel right. He turned to head back down the hill, and stop there, lying half buried in the dirt, was a strange silver disc. Jack picked it up. It was warm. The surface had odd symbols carved into it, not human writing. He wiped it clean with his sleeve and turned it over. The back was smooth, but when he touched a small button, the disc lit up. A small hologram appeared. It was a symbol, a tall figure with arms wide, next to a small figure. Then the image blinked and vanished. Jack stared at the disc. "Tika's people," he said softly. "They're searching." Back at the cabin, Tika was quiet. She sat near the fire, hugging her bird toy. Jack showed her the disc. "Do you know this?" he asked out, her eyes locked onto the device. Slowly, she reached out and touched the button. Again, the hologram returned, and this time, she made a low humming sound. The same sound she had made on the first night while looking at the sky. Her tiny hands pointed up. "You want to go home," Jack said. Tika nodded. Jack sighed. "Then we better help them find you." That night, Jack couldn't sleep. He sat on the porch, watching the stars. He thought about Earth, about his long years of silence, and about how quickly things had changed with one small life. Tika was no longer just a guest. She was like family now. But he knew, deep inside, that she didn't belong here. She had a mother, a home, maybe a whole world looking for her. He looked up at the stars. A few moved slowly across the sky. One of them blinked red, just like the night before. Someone's coming, he whispered. He didn't know if they were friends or not, but he knew one thing: when they arrived, he would be ready, and he would not let anything happen to Tika, not while she was under his roof. The morning air on Ireland Fort was cooler than usual. Jack stood near the garden, watching Tika play with a bundle of colored strings he had made for her. Her laughter was soft and bright, and it reminded him of wind chimes on Earth. But something in the air had changed. He had felt it since the night before, after spotting that blinking red light in the sky again. It wasn't a star. It was a ship, slow, silent, and not from Earth. Tika didn't notice anything yet. She was too busy trying to braid the strings with her small hands. But Jack's eyes stayed fixed on the treetops and sky. He had lived long enough to know when something was watching. Later that day, while chopping firewood, Jack heard a strange humming sound, low, steady, like a machine. It came from behind the hills. He put the axe down and looked toward the sound. Tika ran up beside him, holding his hand, her eyes wide. Suddenly, something floated over the trees. It was a drone, round, silver, with 3 blinking blue lights underneath. It hovered silently, scanning the area. Jack's heart raced. He had seen drones like this before, but never on Ireland 4. This one wasn't human-made. It moved as smoothly, too quietly. Tika gasped and backed away, hiding behind Jack's leg. Her body trembled. Jack acted fast. He grabbed his old slingshot from the tool bench and loaded a small metal nut. He aimed carefully and let it fly. Clank. The drone sparked and buzzed as the shot hit its center. It tilted, spun, and fell to the ground near the riverbank. Smoke rose from it. Jack and Tika ran toward it. The drone was still glowing faintly, and strange symbols flickered across its surface. Jack knelt and studied it. The writing was the same as on the silver disc he had found. Tika didn't come near. She stood back, her eyes full of fear. Jack could see it in her face. She knew what this was. Someone had found her. That evening, Jack checked the broken drone again. He had taken out its power core and hidden it inside his cabin. The rest he buried under rocks. If more came, he didn't want them to find clues. Tika sat quietly that night. No laughter, no games. She held her wooden bird and looked up at the stars. "Are you scared?" Jack asked softly. She didn't answer, but her eyes told him everything. She was afraid. Not of the sky, but of what was coming from it. Jack sat beside her. "We'll be okay," he said. "I won't let anything happen to you." Tika leaned against his arm. The next morning, Jack saw something strange again. This time on the ground. Footprints. Big ones. 3 toes, long steps, deep in the soft soil. Not human, not Tika's. Something, or someone, had walked through his land during the night. He followed the trail, moving slowly, with Tika holding his hand. The tracks led from the edge of the woods to the back of the cabin, and then stopped. Jack looked around. No broken branches, no sound in the trees. Whoever had been there was careful, too careful. He didn't say anything to Tika. He just squeezed her hand and led her back inside. Then he locked the door and loaded his old energy pistol. He hadn't used it in years, but it still worked. He kept it close now. The next few days were tense. Jack stayed alert. Every sound in the forest made him look twice. He took Tika with him everywhere, even to the water pump. Then, on the 4th night, something changed. Tika woke Jack with a tap on his arm. Her eyes were glowing softly in the dark. She pointed to the window. Jack got up and looked out. In the sky, far above the trees, was a ship. Not large, not loud, but clearly visible. It moved slowly, almost silently, and had soft golden lights running along its sides. It didn't look like a warship. It looked peaceful, graceful. Tika's face lit up. She made a sound, not fear, but hope, a quiet tone, rising and falling like a call. She placed her hand on the window and repeated the sound. Jack realized something. "That's your people," he whispered. "That's your mother." Tika nodded quickly, then hugged his leg. Jack's throat felt tight. He had hoped this day would come, but now that it had, he wasn't ready to say goodbye still. He knew what he had to do. The next morning, Jack packed a small bag with supplies, water, food, tools. He wrapped Tika in a warm shawl and lifted her onto his back. They were going to the highest point near the cabin, the signal tower on the mountain. It was an old outpost used by colonists for weather and communications. It had been offline since the storm, but Jack had fixed it 2 days ago. He hadn't used it yet. Now he would. They walked for hours, through trees, over rocks, and across frozen streams. Tika stayed quiet the whole way, only pointing at the sky when she saw the golden ship again, far in the clouds. Jack looked up too. "Hold on, kid," he said. "We're almost there." When they reached the top, the wind was strong. The tower stood tall and rusted, but the control panel was working. Jack turned it on and opened the long-range channel. Instead of calling the Earth colony, he switched to the alien frequency he had found on the silver disk. Then he spoke. "I have the child. She's safe. Please respond." For a few seconds, there was only static. Then a soft voice replied in perfect English. "We seek the child. We come in peace." Tika smiled. Her eyes filled with tears. She looked toward the valley below. And there, descending through the clouds, came the alien ship. The alien ship floated down like a falling feather, silent and graceful. Its golden lights shimmered in the soft wind as it lowered into the valley beneath the mountain. Jack and Tika stood at the top of the rocky slope, watching. Tika's tiny hands clutched Jack's shoulders as she sat on his back. Her breath was quick. Her eyes were full of wonder and something deeper, something Jack had never seen in her before. Hope. Jack slowly walked down the slope. He kept his eyes on the ship, ready for anything. He didn't trust easily. Not even beautiful ships that came with peaceful messages. He still had the energy pistol strapped under his jacket just in case. The ship settled into a quiet field of golden grass. No weapons, no sudden movements. The back opened with a smooth hum. Out stepped a tall alien woman. She had the same pale, silvery skin as Tika. Her long hair moved like silk in the breeze. Her robe flowed around her, dark teal and silver, covered in shining patterns. But the thing Jack noticed most were her eyes, teal, just like Tika's. The woman looked around. Her face was calm, but her eyes searched fast, almost panicked. Then they locked onto Tika. Tika made a sound one Jack hadn't heard before. It was like a soft song, full of feeling. Her arms stretched out, and she pointed at the woman. The alien mother stepped forward. Her voice shook as she spoke. Not in her own language, but in English. "My child," she said. Jack froze. She had learned his language. Tika wriggled, wanting to get down. Jack knelt and helped her to the ground. The little girl ran as fast as her legs would carry her. She didn't stop until she crashed into her mother's arms. The alien woman dropped to her knees and held her tight. Her face buried in Tika's soft hair. She let out a quiet, trembling breath, a sound full of love and relief. Jack watched in silence. His throat felt tight. They had found each other. The moment lasted a long time. Jack didn't interrupt. He just stood there, arms crossed, watching the beautiful scene. Then the alien mother stood and faced him, still holding Tika close. "You protected her," she said slowly. Her voice was soft but clear. Jack nodded once. "She showed up at my cabin, hungry, lost. I did what anyone should do." The woman walked closer. Tika peeked out from her shoulder and gave Jack a little smile. The woman placed her hand over her heart and bowed her head. "I'm called Shari. I am her mother. I thank you with my life." Jack cleared his throat. "I'm Jack, and you're welcome." Shari looked at him with kind eyes. "We searched for her across the stars. A crash separated us. Many were hurt. She escaped in a pod. We feared the worst." Jack glanced at Tika. "She's brave. Smart too." Shari nodded. "She carries the memory of our people. Even as a child, she learns quickly." Tika reached out her small hand toward Jack. He took it gently for a few seconds. The three stood together, connected by something deeper than language kindness. Suddenly, a loud roar broke the peace. Jack turned fast. Over the hills, a rough black ship tore through the sky. It was loud, ugly, and fast. Shari's face changed. "Hunters," she said. Jack's eyes narrowed. Scavengers. The black ship landed hard on a nearby field. Dust flew everywhere. The doors opened, and 4 humans stepped out. They wore armor made from mixed parts metal, wires, and glass. All of them carried weapons. Jack pulled out his energy pistol. I've seen them before. They steal alien tech and sell it off-world. They're dangerous. Shari's eyes glowed slightly. They want Tika. They won't get her, Jack said. He looked around. We need to prepare. Jack and Shari moved quickly, while Tika stayed hidden behind a rock. Jack and Shari used what they had: tools, branches, rope, even parts from the old drone Jack had shot earlier. They set simple traps in the grass. Shari marked the land with a glowing powder from her ship. It made the area confusing for those who didn't understand it. Then Shari showed Jack something amazing. She held up both hands, and the air around her began to shimmer. A light barrier formed, a soft, moving wall of energy. Defense field, she explained. It will hold for 1 hour. Jack was impressed. That's better than my shotgun traps. The scavengers started moving toward them. One of them shouted, "Hand over the alien girl. We know she's here." Jack stood in front of the ship with his pistol ready. "No," he said. "You're not taking her." They raised their weapons, but before they could shoot, Shari lifted her hands. A strong wind burst from the field, knocking the scavengers off their feet. Jack used the moment to fire a warning shot into the ground. "You should leave," he said. The scavengers scrambled up, shocked by the power of the energy field and Shari's abilities. "This isn't over," one of them shouted, running back to the ship. They took off moments later, smoke trailing behind them. When it was safe again, Tika came out from hiding. She ran to Jack and hugged his leg. "You did well," Shari said. Jack sighed and looked down at Tika. "She's worth protecting." Shari smiled. "You are more than a protector. You are now part of her story." Jack nodded slowly. "I guess she's part of mine too." That night, they sat together near the ship. Stars shone above them. Shari looked up. "We leave soon. Will you say goodbye?" Jack didn't answer at first. He looked at Tika. She was asleep in her mother's arms, holding the wooden bird he had given her. He smiled. "Yeah, I'll say goodbye." But deep inside, he knew this wasn't the end. The morning sun rose over the peaceful valley, casting soft light on Jack's cabin and the alien ship resting nearby. Jack woke early, feeling the weight of what was to come. The scavengers might return, and this time they would come with more weapons and more anger. Jack wasn't a soldier anymore. He was a retired engineer who wanted nothing but quiet. But now, with Tika and her mother here, he knew he had to stand firm. Shari was already awake, moving quietly near the ship. Her eyes shone with a calm power. She was preparing for what she called defense. Jack packed his small bag with what he thought might help: tools, ropes, and a few makeshift traps. He looked over at Tika, who was sitting with her mother. The baby girl looked stronger, calmer, but still too young to understand danger. Jack bent down and whispered, "We're going to keep you safe, no matter what." Shari led Jack to a clearing near the woods. There, she showed him how to set simple trap strip wires made from thin vines, nets woven from tough plant fibers, and noise makers from old metal scraps. Jack was surprised how quickly Shari learned. Even with her alien abilities, she worked carefully and patiently. "This will slow them down," she said. "We cannot stop a large attack, but we can delay them." Jack nodded. "That gives us time." Shari raised her hands, and the shimmering light barrier from the day before formed again. This time, the energy field covered the whole clearing, strong and bright. Jack watched in awe. "You've got real power." She smiled softly. "It is not just power. It is protection, a promise." For the next few hours, Jack and Shari worked together, preparing the area. Tika stayed hidden, but she peeked from behind a tree, curious about the strange new game. Suddenly, a loud roar echoed through the valley. The scavengers had returned. Their black ship landed with a hard crash, kicking up dust and leaves. This time, there were more of them, 8 men, all armed with hard faces and cold eyes. They moved quickly, shouting orders: "Find the alien child no mistakes. Jack gripped his energy pistol tightly. Shari stood beside him, calm and ready. The scavengers began moving through the traps. Some fell in nets, others tripped wires that made loud, clanging noises. The attackers cursed and shouted, but they pushed forward. Jack fired a warning shot, and Shari raised her hands. The energy field pulsed with light, creating a strong shield that pushed the scavengers back. One of the scavengers fired a shot. The bullet hit the shield and bounced harmlessly away. Shari's eyes flashed bright teal, and a wave of wind knocked several attackers off their feet. Jack used the moment to throw one of his traps, a heavy net, over two of the men. They struggled and fell. The battle was fierce but careful. Jack didn't want anyone to get hurt. He only wanted to protect Tika. After about an hour, the scavengers retreated. "Let's go," their leader shouted. "This isn't over." They ran back to their ship, but Jack and Shari were ready. Shari's shield stayed strong, blocking the path. The ship took off with a roar, leaving dust and smoke behind. Jack looked at Shari, breathing hard. "They'll be back," Shari nodded. "Yes, but now they know we are ready." Tika ran to Jack and hugged his leg. "You were very brave," Shari said to Jack. Jack smiled, tired but proud. "I did what anyone should do." Shari's eyes softened. "You are more than a friend. You are family." Jack looked at the sky. He thought about Earth and all the quiet years he had lived. Now, with Tika and Shari, his life was full again. That night, Jack sat by the fire alone. He looked at the stars and thought about the future. Tika was safe now. Her mother was here. But the galaxy was not always kind. Jack whispered to the night, "We'll face whatever comes next, together." The morning sun rose quietly over Erlen 4, painting the sky with soft shades of pink and orange. Jack Ronan sat on the porch of his cabin, sipping hot tea. The air smelled fresh after the night rain. But inside, Jack felt a mix of calm and sadness. Yesterday, the alien ship had taken off, carrying Shari and little Tika back to their home among the stars. Jack had watched the ship disappear beyond the clouds. He missed them already for days after. Jack worked in his garden as usual, but his thoughts kept returning to the small alien girl and her mother. He wondered about their home, their world beyond the stars, and the journey they were on now. One afternoon, as Jack was watering his plants, he noticed something shining near the edge of his garden. Curious, he walked over and found a small crystal. Glowing softly in the sunlight, the crystal was unlike anything Jack had ever seen. It was smooth and clear, but inside, it shimmered with colors that shifted slowly, like tiny rainbows trapped inside. Jack picked it up carefully. As he held it, the crystal began to hum softly. Suddenly, a small light flickered on its surface. Then, a three-dimensional image appeared floating in the air above the crystal. Jack blinked in surprise. It was a hologram. The image was of Tika. She smiled, waving her tiny hand. A soft voice played with the image. It was Tika's voice, speaking. In simple English, "Thank you, kind father," she said. Jack's eyes grew moist. The hologram continued. "You saved me when I was hungry and afraid. You showed me kindness when no one else could. I am happy now, with my mother." Tika's image waved again and then slowly faded away. Jack held the crystal close to his chest. That night, Jack sat beside the fire, the crystal glowing gently beside him. He felt a warmth inside, a feeling that kindness could reach beyond worlds, beyond time. He looked at the stars. Maybe someday, Tika and her people would come back to visit. Maybe they would bring stories of new planets and adventures. For now, Jack was content. He had done something important. He had made a difference. The next morning, Jack planted a small tree beside the crystal. It was a young sapling, green and full of life. "This is for you, Tika," he said softly. The tree's leaves rustled gently in the breeze, as if saying goodbye. Jack smiled and looked up at the sky again. His quiet life had changed forever. And somewhere, across the stars, a little alien girl and her mother carried the memory of a kind human who had helped them when they needed it most.